The world is certainly changing. Back in the olden days, if you had a dispute with someone, you'd take it out back and have a little fisticuffs, and then at the end of it, you'd walk in and have another pint. However, now, whenever there's a dispute about something, someone's going to sue you for every penny you've got. Hello! Welcome to Brain Spill, the laziest show on the internet. My name is Tank, and over the years, compensation culture is something that's been growing more and more popular every year, particularly in the USA. People have started to believe that the only way to get vindicated for somebody that's done a wrong to you is to sue the living hell out of them and take them for every penny they're worth. And well, people will find any reason to make a lawsuit if they know that they might make a bit of money out of it at the end. Because of course, those dollar bills are the best way to wipe away those tears after someone's done a wrong to you. Now, in the world, when something goes wrong, there's normally a thing or person to blame. However, one person that gets a lot of blame for things that happens in the world is the big man upstairs, God. Be it natural disasters, child mortality, pestilence, disease, or just the fact that your favourite sports team sucked this year, if in doubt, blame God. Well, yes, of course, there's a lot of people that would blame God and say it in jest. They don't actually believe that it's God's fault, but they say it as something to point blame towards to perhaps get over some frustration. However, there are other people who actually put their blame in a higher power, saying that this actual physical event would not have happened if God hadn't allowed it, and they place the blame firmly on their shoulders. And well, it's this belief that led to the one time a guy decided to sue God. As to how this all started, we need to look to a man called Ernie Chambers, an American politician and Nebraska state senator. Chambers is the longest serving state senator in the history of Nebraska, and just by looking at his career, he has been through a handful of previous controversies and legal disputes. But none of these were quite as absurd as the time he decided to sue God. On the 14th of September 2007, Ernie Chambers filed the suit in order to seek a permanent injunction that ordered God to stop causing widespread death, destruction, and terrorization of millions upon millions of the Earth's inhabitants. The suit listed examples of God's wrath, including fearsome floods, horrendous hurricanes, earthquakes, plagues, famine, genocidal wars, birth defects, terrifying tornadoes, and the like. When I think of this almighty creator, it does make me wonder who his lawyers are, and as someone that is all powerful, surely he can click this away and it's not a problem for him. However, apparently, God has to contend with the legal system as well. I mean, come to think of it, he's God. He can do whatever he wants. He can literally smite Chambers down. Just go Old Testament up in here. Who's gonna stop him? Although, come to think of it, a bunch of bees managed to sue humanity in a 91-minute timeless classic, so I guess anything's possible. On the 30th of July 2008, local media sources reported the Douglas County District Court was about to deny the lawsuit brought by Ernie Chambers because he failed to notify the defendant, assuming because heaven has no postal address. However, on the 1st of August, Ernie Chambers was, miraculously, granted a court date on the 5th of August in order to proceed with his lawsuit. So, yeah, his crazy lawsuit was actually heard in front of a judge, and when it was immediately thrown out. In his ruling, Judge Polk said the following about the suit, which really highlighted a pretty fundamental flaw in the case, saying, "Given that this court finds there can never be service effectuated on the named defendant, this action will be dismissed with prejudice." So basically what they mean by this is, we're in the hearing, God isn't here, we can't get him here, your case is dismissed. I always thought that people said that God was omnipresent, that he was always there for everybody that needed his presence. Except when he's getting sued, he just decides to miraculously disappear when that happens. Regarding the definition, either I got that bang on, or I got mixed up with someone like Father Christmas. Tomatoes. He went on with his completely reasonable, thought out loopholes and said that God could be served a lawsuit on the basis that, since God knows everything, God has notice of his lawsuit. Can't really argue with that logic. The real reason behind the claim being submitted is a little bit more serious than what we see on face value. As Chambers has said, the main reason behind him filing this suit was to do with an apparent retaliation for a recent ruling where the words rape and victim were banned from a recent criminal case involving a sexual assault incident. As a matter of fact, the woman who was assaulted actually filed a lawsuit against the district judge in this case because of the fact that he actually went out of his way to ban the use of those words in this case, and was basically saying that her case was frivolous and without merit, which, for a case like this, is absolutely ridiculous. Chambers decided to file his suit to really prove the point that anybody was entitled to sue anybody. This lawsuit having been filed and being of such questionable merit creates a circumstance where my lawsuit is appropriately filed. People might call it frivolous, but if they read it, they'll see that there are some very serious issues I've raised. The Constitution requires that the courthouse doors be open, so you cannot prohibit the filing of a suit. Anyone can sue anyone they choose, even God. The point he was making, if that wasn't abundantly clear, was the fact that the judicial system should be open to everybody. People shouldn't be stopped from exercising their rights to have their day at court and to have a certain hearing made. People are entitled to get justice and to sue people if they feel like they've been wronged in some way or form. When I was doing the research on this topic, a lot of news outlets failed to go into further detail on the true reason behind why someone decided to sue God. And they decided to focus more on the ridiculous nature of the lawsuit itself. Which is really strange, because the whole point that he did this was to try and highlight that fact, and because so many articles just glazed over it, and a lot of people that would have read these articles at the end would probably think, oh well, that was silly, and move on with their lives, not actually realising the reason behind it. And I think there's something important that does need to be highlighted. The law should not stop the filing of frivolous lawsuits according to Chambers, which is a whole debate in itself, especially as to where you draw the line, or what you would define as frivolous, as something that is important or holds merit to one person may differ from that of a hardened judge residing over a case for a matter for the first time. You may think that this is the one and only time someone has ever actually decided to file a suit against God, but no, it's actually quite a common occurrence and has happened a few times in the past before. Such as in 1970, an Arizonan lawyer, Russell Tanzi, filed a suit against God on behalf of his secretary, Betty Penrose, seeking $100,000 in damages. Betty decided to take action due to the fact that God had been negligent in the very liberal use of lightning bolts, one of which hit her house. The case went forward, and when God failed to turn up to the hearing, she actually won her case. The likelihood that she'll ever actually claim the $100,000 from God is pretty slim. However, I would have absolutely loved for somebody to have turned up to the hearing dressed as God and actually gone in and tried to defend God's case. I would have loved to have seen the look on Betty's face when she's standing face to face with a man wearing a big beard and trying to argue the fact that his liberal use of lightning bolts is not a problem. In 2005, a man named Pavel M. was a prisoner serving 20 years in prison on a murder conviction. He decided it would be a swell idea to file a lawsuit against the Romanian Orthodox Church as God's representatives in Romania for failing to keep him from the devil. He alleged that baptism was essentially a legally binding contract, and therefore they were responsible for preventing influence from the devil. I mean, if you're serving 20 years for murder, it's worth a try, I guess. At this point, you don't really have much to lose. The case, as you might imagine, was thrown out, mainly because of the fact that God could not be identified as an individual or a corporation, so therefore he was not subject to the court's jurisdiction. Next time he should just sue the devil himself. Co-conspirator in the making. As a matter of fact, the sheer idea of suing God is a popular concept in pop culture, with there being various fictional lawsuits made in television and TV. The most notable example was in the comedy film The Man Who Sued God, released in 2001, starring Billy Connolly, on just the idea that you can sue a higher power. So, the next time you decide to sue God, how about you just make sure you find his address first, just to make sure you can file the papers appropriately, so your case doesn't get thrown out. If you like the video, be sure to like and subscribe. If you want to be notified as soon as I upload my next video, be sure to hit the bell button. And if you've got any ideas for what topics you'd like me to discuss next, let me know down in the comments below. As always, sources used in the video will be in the description. Right, I'm gonna go get my god costume ready, and the next time he gets sued, I'm walking straight into that courthouse and seeing the looks on everyone's faces. I'll see you guys in the next video. Fantastic.